Now that we've gone through the startup and functionality of a standard GNC piston pump system, what I'd like to do is go through the differences of starting up one with a diaphragm pump on. There's not a lot of difference, but there are some differences, and you need to be aware of this so that you don't try to do exactly the same thing with both ways. First off, with the engine, the startup is the same. Gas valve, choke, on and off button, so forth. But when you get to the regulator, they're a little bit different. They do the same thing, they just look a little different. On a regulator like this, on a Udor pump, any of the other diaphragm pumps, they have a lever on the regulator. It's a pressure release lever. You pull it over where it actually forces a spring up, which would be in the position pulling towards me. That releases all the pressure. On the units that we manufacture, and for the for the John Deere type spray rigs, we have a agitator valve. In other words, we have a dump valve coming out of the bottom of the regulator, and we have a hose coming out of the regulator to the agitator. When you start the system up, to make it start easy, put the regulator into the no pressure system, which means pull it towards you, which lifts a spring up off the valve in there, and open the agitator valve. What that does is take all the pressure off the system. Then go through your standard startup on the sprayer as far as the engine, as you did before. Turn the gas valve on, turn the switch on, choke it, give it a start, it should fire right up. After you get it fired up, again, the throttle is set to go one way, full throttle. Don't try to regulate anything with the engine. It's the biggest mistake it's made in the field is they think they can regulate something with the engine throttle. Don't do it. Put it full throttle. That makes the pump work properly. It makes the engine cool properly, and you don't want to do it any other way, or you're going to avoid the warranty on everything. You've got it running. Again, check your suction hose. Make sure it's clear of any air bubbles in it so that you know you got a good flow of liquid to the pump. Look inside the tank, see if you got bypass. You should have water going every direction out of the dump and the agitator. So we've got everything going, it's working, no air bubbles. Now, I want to go work. First thing you want to do is click your regulator over to what we call the pressure side. That means that the valve's down, the regulator's functioning. Now, this part works. If you leave it over here, this doesn't work. Put it here, this works. You can regulate pressure. Leave this on for the time being if you want to agitate your tank. This is the major difference in these two systems. With this one, you have to leave this valve open to get agitation. But when you spray, you have to close this. If you don't close this valve, you will get no pressure when you're trying to spray. So once you feel like you've got a good agitation in your tank, everything's all mixed up good, close the agitator valve. All the bypass in will go through the dump valve into the tank, and it will keep agitating through the dump valve. You'll still get agitation through the dump. But remember, turn this valve off. Got it going. Next thing we do, we get our gun. We come over, like you did on the other one, spray into the tank, and check all your fittings. Again, check the fittings. Make sure you don't have any leaks any place. Go through all that, and if it all works properly, you're ready to go to the field. But make sure it's working properly before you go to the field so you don't spill chemical and have issues after you get in the field. Run a good dry run on it, check it, and you'll be fine.